Welcome back to Creating Community. This is part two. So in this part, what I want to cover is how do you create community? But even before that, what are some things just to keep in mind when it comes to creating community? Because here's the sad truth is that unfortunately, creating community is something that isn't natural for most of us. So what are some things to keep in mind? Number one is realize it's something that you're going to have to initiate. You're going to have to initiate it. What does that mean? It means that it probably won't come naturally to you. Have you ever noticed that the relationships that are there, or the relationships that easily find you, are oftentimes the wrong relationships? I remember in high school, I had no issue at all connecting with guys who were all about the wrong thing. I remember one time I got so mad at something, I don't know why, but I was having a really rough day at school. And I was sitting by myself. Everybody else was doing their own thing. And who would come up next to me just to hang out and chill? The kids that you probably don't want your own kids hanging out with. But that's who found me. That's the community that was around me. And all too often what happens is we settle for the community that we find rather than pursue the community that we need. If we're going to seek godly community, it's something that we're going to have to initiate. I remember one of the best friendships I ever had when I was a youth pastor. It was another youth pastor in town. And I remember I had to initiate that relationship. And not only do you need to initiate it, but you also need to pursue it. That's number two. So not just initiate as in, let me take the first step. Oftentimes you need to pursue healthy relationships. What does that mean to pursue something? It means to not give up even though it might not work out for the first time or the second times. Going back to the relationship that I was talking about, it was something that I pursued. I remember texting this guy, calling this guy, probably bugging this guy beyond what he was used to being reached out to. But I remember I said, man, I just thought to myself, I can't give up. I just think that we might have a really good friendship, a potential for that. And so I kept doing it and doing it and doing it until finally we got together for coffee. And then after that, I pursued him some more. So let's get together again. And sooner or later, what happened is that we both realized that this was a really good relationship. In fact, it's somebody that I still value dearly today. So it's something that you need to pursue, something that you're going to need to initiate. But the third thing I want you to know about creating community is that it's something that might not feel natural right away. But even though it may not feel natural right away, don't stop. It's something that may not feel natural right away, but don't stop. See, here's the problem with Hollywood, is Hollywood often glamorizes things. That they say that you meet your true love, that you feel a connection. That when somebody is supposed to be in your life, that instantaneously you feel this moment where the lights come on and the emotions are there. Can I tell you that more often than not, that's not going to happen. In fact, what's going to happen is you're going to not probably feel natural in it right away. You're going to join a life group, you're going to meet with somebody, and it's going to feel clunky. It's going to feel like, am I even supposed to be here? Can I tell you this? There's nothing that you start that you don't feel natural in, or that you feel comfortable in right away. Or I should say, you hardly start something for the very first time that you feel comfortable in. And that's part of life, is growing, moving into the uncomfortable. And as you move into the uncomfortable, that's when change starts to happen. That's when new experiences start to happen. But we've got to be willing to embrace the unnatural, the uncomfortable, right? Initially, in order to get beyond that in order to experience the life that God wants you and I to have when it comes to creating community. So we talked about you need to initiate it, you need to pursue it, and you got to know that it's not going to feel natural right away. So here's the question then, is how do you pursue community? What does that look like to build community? Well, when it comes to our church, I just want to give you a couple of practical tips. And number one is join a life group. Okay, you hear me? Join a life group. And let me tell you this from the beginning. Life groups aren't going to be the end-all be-all. They're not going to be this, this thing where it fits and it clicks right away. Because it might not be, but it's a good starting point for that. So let me tell you what life groups are. Life groups are small communities, right? Probably groups of anywhere from 8 to 12 people in a life group. And you join a life group. We meet in homes. We don't meet here at the church. Maybe some life groups do because it's a central location to everybody. But most of our life groups meet in homes. And why is that? Because we want people to feel at home. We want people to feel community with other people outside of the church. And so when you join a life group, more than likely you might know one or two people. Maybe you might not know anybody, but here's the amazing thing, is regardless of your background, regardless of where you've been, what you've done, you're joining a life group that you have this one thing in common. You all want community. You all are seeking it. So join a life group today. And if life group registration isn't open, then keep checking and even put your name out there for, on the email list. But here's the thing is that we've made it one of the ways that you can step into community. And here's the goal of life groups is that you might not feel community with everybody in the life group right away, but hopefully you can make connections with one or two other people that you feel like, man, I feel like there may be something deeper here. So join a life group. Another way for you to jump in community is this, is you simply go to the Lord in prayer and you ask this question: God, who's around me? Who do you want me to be in community with? Because here's the thing is that oftentimes we're guilty of searching for something that God's already placed right in front of us, right? Like how many times have you looked for something only to be like, oh, it's right in my hands, what am I doing? Or how many times have you searched for something only to realize it's in your pocket? It's already there. And the same thing goes with the relationships as well too. Sometimes the relationships that the Lord's put right in front of you are oftentimes the very thing that we overlook, but what He's given us. And so ask God, God, open my eyes. Is there anybody that you would have me to reach out to? Is it somebody that sits in front of me every single Sunday? Or somebody that sits across from me? Is it that neighbor across the street? Is it that coworker that I have? Is it the cubicle next to me? Right? Pray and ask God, God, who can I pursue community with and see and watch Him as He speaks to you? And then the last thing I want to say about joining community is this: is listen, we have life groups here, but we also have serve teams here as well too. We get together, we serve. There are people who serve as greeters, as ushers, but we also have events that we put on, big events, right? Our outreaches that happen, and lots of people come in and serve. What I found is this: is sometimes one of the best ways to join community is to hop on a cause with other people, right? Not just join a community, not just say, hey, what's your name? But you're serving together, and in serving together, you start rubbing shoulders together. And what's awesome with this is as you serve, you get to make memories together as well too. So consider joining a life group, consider joining a serve team, but also the most important thing is take time to pray and ask God, God, who is it that you would have me to be in community with? Because here's what you've got to know, is that you were created for community. We were created to experience community. God Himself created us in His image, and He is community, 3 in 1, and that means we also were designed for that. And if we don't do it, then we face the consequences of that. And again, we talked about that, poor health, lost perspective, right? Fear of intimacy. That's not the way we were meant to live. We were meant to get over the awkwardness, pursue it, right? Initiate it, and then from there experience God in a way we've never experienced Him before. So hope this blesses you. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.